Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be at the main stage of Rural Women Everywhere. My name is Edyael Casaperalta, and I am a Senior Policy Advisor at the Rural Utility Service at the Department of Agriculture. Today, I have the great honor to talk to you about the work that we do at RUS and the work at the Rural Development Mission Area of USDA. So first, I'd like to give a brief overview of rural development. Rural development is a mission area within the Department of Agriculture that is committed to help and improve the economy and quality of life in rural America. We do this through a variety of programs that help rural Americans in many ways. The three areas that we focus on in rural development and for which we have agencies are rural housing, rural business and cooperatives, and rural utilities. So we have agencies that serve these areas. We have the Rural Housing Service that ensures that rural Americans have access to housing, that receive assistance with rent, and that we support housing development in rural communities. We also have an agency called the Rural Business and Cooperative Service, which has programs to support businesses, cooperatives, the small business owners in rural communities, and to support economic development in rural communities. We also have the Rural Utility Service, which has programs that support water, electric, and broadband access in rural communities. And I just want to highlight that one of the things to be most proud at USDA and at rural development is that we have incredible women leading rural policy at USDA, and particularly in rural development. In every one of our agencies, whether it's housing, business, or utilities, women are in leadership guiding policy that benefits rural communities and that makes sure that these communities have the resources to improve quality of life for their residents. In fact, rural development is led by a recently confirmed Undersecretary for Rural Development, Xochitl Torres-Small. And now, if you allow me, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the specific service where I work, the specific agency, which is Rural Utility Service. At Rural Utility Service, we provide much needed infrastructure and infrastructure improvements to rural communities. Our infrastructure programs focus on water and waste treatment, electric power, and telecommunications services. We believe that all of these services improve the quality of life of rural communities and help expand the economic opportunities available to rural residents. Within our Rural Utility Service agency, we have three different programs, as I mentioned: water, electric, and broadband. In the fiscal year 2021, collectively, the Rural Utility Service provided over $7 billion in grants and loans to support utility infrastructure in rural communities. And I'd like to go a little bit to offer a little bit more information about each one of our program areas. On the electric programs, under our electric programs, we provide funding to maintain, expand, upgrade, and modernize rural electric infrastructure. We have over 600 borrowers in 46 states that have resulted in a loan portfolio of approximately $46 billion. And in fiscal year 2021, we invested over $5 billion in loans for electric projects throughout rural communities. We finance, like I said, the construction or improvement of electric distribution, transmission, and generational facilities in rural areas. So any project that touches the expansion of electric service in rural communities, we support that. We also support energy efficiency and conservation programs and renewable energy systems. And we also offer relending options. Basically, anybody that's interested in, except individuals, in providing or extending electric service in rural communities can take a look at our programs and see if they can qualify. Typically, cooperatives, corporations, states, federally recognized tribes, municipalities, utility districts, and nonprofit organizations use our electric programs to create the big impact and to provide electricity in rural communities. We also have a water and environmental program area. And the water and environmental programs finance water, sewer, and solid waste utilities to provide affordable services to rural communities with populations of 10,000 people or less. In fiscal year 2021, WEP invested over $2 billion in rural communities, which provided service to over 4 million rural residents. And water and environmental programs or water programs can finance the acquisition or construction or improvement of drinking water, sewer collection, solid waste collection, or stormwater collection. So we really finance water systems throughout rural communities. Nonprofit organizations, tribes, public utilities all use our programs. And we invite any group of rural stakeholders or organizations interested in ensuring that their communities have safe drinking water that require sewer collection to come and look at our programs, because that is precisely the work that we strive to fund and finance. We also have telecommunications programs. And our telecom programs broadly at the Rural Utility Service fund the construction, expansion, and upgrading of broadband infrastructure in rural communities. We also have a couple of programs that increase access to distance learning and telemedicine in rural communities. Our telecom programs are available to areas that have a population of 20,000 people or less. And we are the only agency that is focused on providing telecommunication service in rural communities. We have this as our mandate, and there are other sister agencies at the federal government that provide broadband infrastructure and broadband access funds, and we are the only agency that is exclusively focused on serving rural communities. We provide loans, grants, or loan and grant combinations, and typically for-profit, nonprofit entities, tribes, municipalities, and cooperatives come to our telecommunications programs. In fiscal year 2021, we invested $422 million in broadband projects across rural communities in the United States. And in this section is where I want to highlight one exciting program that is soon going to open. Like I mentioned, we have a variety of programs, but in the next couple of weeks, likely you will hear about the Reconnect program. The Reconnect program will make available over $1 billion in funds, whether it be loans, grants, or a combination of loan and grants, to construct and expand broadband service in rural communities with a population of 20,000 people or less. As I mentioned, businesses, nonprofits, for-profits, tribes, cooperatives are all eligible to come and try to and to submit an application to request funding to expand broadband service in their rural communities. We're really excited to share this program, which will be in its third round of funding. And we look forward to applications from rural women everywhere or from any stakeholders out there that want to extend internet service in rural communities. And I'll just close briefly with some remarks. The pandemic showed us the need for not just broadband service, but for all utility services to be available in rural communities at a time when rural residents and rural families needed to stay home. It became crystal clear that the need to close the digital divide and to make sure that all rural communities, rural residents and families have their basic needs met. At Rural Utility Service, we have programs that strive to do that seek to fund infrastructure projects that allow rural communities to build economic opportunity, to build jobs, to make sure that the basic necessities for life are met, and that support the well-being of rural communities writ large. We are at a time when the need for infrastructure is crystal clear, and USDA is stepping up to the plate to support communities in making sure they have their basic needs met. We believe that funding infrastructure is what will help us build back better in our communities, what will help us build sustainable communities, and what can also help us respond to climate change with that with unique rural responses and lenses. So we look forward to hearing from you and being in touch with rural women everywhere as we team up to build infrastructure access in rural communities across the United States. On a personal note, that is an honor to be part of this conversation that you are having today and over the last 2 days, over the 2 days of this conference, because I'm a woman from a small rural town. I'm originally from Elsa, Texas, which is a town of about 6,000 people. And it has been an honor to be, to be asked to be part of the administration to support rural policy, specifically on broadband access, being an individual from a small rural community who has worked on broadband access precisely for rural communities, for Native communities, and for immigrant communities throughout my career. So it's exciting to be here with you today, talking about programs that not only serve communities like the ones that I'm from, but serve your communities, and sharing with you the various opportunities at the Department of Agriculture, at Rural Development, at Rural Utility Service, to make sure that you know of the programs that are available and that you can let your communities know they can come and apply for funding for. As we all know, our communities and rural communities are in need of better infrastructure, of more economic opportunity, and of health and safe housing. And those are precisely the areas that rural development focuses on. And it's just an honor to be part of the work that the federal government does and that USDA does in that arena.